Oh my god. Jeff, I don't know. You probably can't see. I mean, if you watch the stream, you'll catch up to some of the bullshit that I'm putting on our video.
No,
But
I
like,
love it. I see it's awesome. I saw very
look at this one.
momentarily. Yeah, this is
It's the
incredible.
broadcast booth from
Oh,
Elgato.
this is like Sports Center. This is amazing.
That's wildly silly. Cool.
What is going on in the background? I mean, like, I love how our actual stream is just like a tiny little box behind that person's head. But that could be your head, right? That's the idea there.
It could be your head. It could be your head with your video behind it, I guess.
Yeah.
We'll see. We'll see. Cool. Are we audible?
Oh, let me turn up the volume and see. Hello, world.
Hello, world.
Let me turn up the volume and see.
Oh, that sounds good.
Hello, world. Hello, world. Yeah, it sounds pretty good to me.
Cool. We're still going through the full audio hijack pipeline. Nothing changed. The HDMI captures that. Seems fine.
Wow, the future. Incredible.
Yeah. All right. I guess let's stream.
I guess this is it. We're gonna continue making the game proverbially speaking, and literally speaking. So I actually haven't thought too much about what to do today. I think we've said this for maybe 2 or 3 streams in a row now, where we've gotten to the difficult 90% of the game. I would say we've gotten past. I don't know. We're still maybe in kind of demo stage, but we're getting to the point where we need to start doing like more complicated interactions and that kind of thing, right? So last time we had succeeded in doing line of sight detection for our turrets here. So as we disappear out of sight behind the gray walls,
the so
turrets
good.
no longer yeah, they're amazing, right?
I really like that, man.
And we had noticed a weird anomaly, right? There's somehow like I think there's some weird thing with line of sight. I'm gonna take this wall out. For some reason, the turret can't see the tank right now, right? And we think that's wrong.
Yeah, and if you shoot out, I'm sorry, we got stream problems. If you shoot out these, everyone can see that.
Yeah.
Then the turret can see us, which seems
That's
doubly
such an
wrong.
interesting. We have such a good repro case. Okay, this is pretty obvious here, right? The problem is fairly obvious.
And shoot out that brick, and you'll start getting shot. Nah, not that one. The one to your right. Yeah. Oh, all right. That was my repro case for a different one.
But so this one can't even see us at all, really, at certain angles, right?
Interesting. Yeah, and it's like
if I shoot this one out,
weird. So I think it'd be really cool to sort of debug our raycasting today.
Cool.
Get that in there. Do some renderable changes. Make it so that in debug mode we actually see what it is pointing at.
Yep, that sounds great.
Or maybe turrets get like that. not the cone of vision, but like a line of vision that they're pointing around with them would be really cool.
Yep, totally. Great. So in order for us to fix this issue, we're going to have to modify entities, and I did a lot of damage to our to our entities upstream. So maybe I could talk a little bit about like the changes that went in place.
Yeah,
first.
Let's see what we got.
And then we can maybe decide what like how terrible of an idea that was. I'm going to reload this because it's slightly distracting to my eye, so we're not getting shot at constantly. Okay. So for better or for worse, we are careening towards an entity component system, and that's actually it's not it's an entity component system because system is actually one of the words that composes the whole paradigm, the pattern. ECS is what it's called. My knowledge of ECS is actually relatively limited, I would say. I kind of know it through YouTube videos. There are 2 in particular I would recommend to at least get a taste of this, or at least really kind of just one, but I'm not sure if it's complete on its own. So first of all, there's our buddy Bob Nystrom, phenomenal technology commentator of the 21st century. Funny guy on Twitter, funny guy on the blogs. Wrote a great book about game programming called Game Programming Patterns, and also recently wrote a book called Crafting Interpreters, which is not about games at all. It's about like writing a programming language in an interpreter. It's phenomenal. Also a really great book. And also, I think probably both Dom and I discovered this guy because of another article he wrote about just like async functions.
That was so good. Yeah,
yeah, it's phenomenal. I didn't realize I cared so much about async until I read that. Anyways, he has this kind of like lightning talk. It's like 20 minutes long. I guess it's not quite a lightning talk. Lightning talks are like thought, right? But he has this talk that he did at like a roguelike convention. There's such a thing, like conventions where roguelike developers.
I want to go to that. That sounds great.
Yeah. At any rate, he has this talk about ECS. He kind of evolves it from basically this idea that, first of all, you know, like most games start out, you have this entity class that represents both your player and your monsters and your bullets flying around. And they're kind of like this Uber class that has all the state and sometimes all the behavior for lots of different things. And a lot of times what you would do in like C++ is you would say like, well, the difference between an enemy and the player is like their sibling child classes of like a parent entity class. And that's all fine until you realize you want certain capabilities that you only programmed in one type of entity to move over to another one. How do you share code between them without it confusing? How do you share similar state, similar patterns? So one thing that people started to do was they would make classes, but they would kind of bundle up individual pieces of functionality into structures that they would then put into the class itself. So you would have like a physics component in your entity, and you would have a graphics component in your entity, and you'd have like a control me with controller input component. And that's actually the way that our game worked up until probably a couple of weeks ago, until I started pulling this stuff out. And then the evolution that Bob Nystrom talks about is that people would move to saying, like, wait a minute, if your entity is just a bag of these like pieces of state with behavior on them, can we just kind of turn that inside out and just make the whole game a bunch of bags of identical state? So you have your bag of physics components and you have your bag of graphics components, and have like one of the physics components in the bag of physics components related to one of the graphics components in the bag of graphics components, and that's basically your entity. The relationship between those two things is your entity. And what you would do in that case is you would say, well, I want to update all my physics first, because that makes sense. So I'm going to just like look at all the physics components that I have, and then I want to update all of my graphics next, or even last in the game loop. And so I just look at the graphics components. Now, what Bob Nystrom says about this is that primarily the goal of that is for cache coherence, which is kind of like a nerdy thing that like operating system people and like low-level C programmers love to talk about. And the idea there is that because probably if you're doing your physics all at once, you're iterating over this array of physics components. And as you load the first one, well, maybe it's helpful for you to take advantage of the fact that the CPU will load the entire line of memory into cache that's hundreds of times faster than regular memory, or like however many multiple, at least an order or two magnitude faster than regular memory, right? And this matters because CPUs have been getting faster and faster and faster, but like all the rest of the components of the computer have not been getting faster. So the closer you can keep things to the CPU, the better. So he actually says, like in this talk, which is actually a really great talk to watch to just get an idea of the pattern, that like it is actually pointless to do ECS unless you are unless you have like a cache coherence problem, like you have a performance problem that is related to cache misses all the time. Then that's what ECS is for, and otherwise there's no point in that. So what is interesting is this other talk that I still would recommend. I have problems with like how dense the content is in this video, and it is kind of more of a video for for kind of people who know what the lecturer is talking about, like those types of talks, right? It's done by Tim Ford, who's the lead gameplay programmer for Overwatch at Blizzard. And I think he still is. This was 3 years ago for GDC, despite the date. It says February 8th, 2019, but I think it was the 2017 GDC. Where he talks about actually two topics that are close to our hearts right now, which is both the ECS architecture and then also its relationship to netcode, right? I think this talk it's worth a watch. There's a comment in later down if you scroll down that says like, this is the first YouTube video I've set to 0.75 speed, because it was just like, it's really, really dense. It's got a lot to say. But he also has some really cool animations and stuff where he talks a little bit about what ECS does for Overwatch. And to Tim Ford, the idea of ECS is really just to make sure that business logic, which is a very like professional software engineer term, but basically like some kind of logic for running one piece of the game, is actually helpful if that piece of the game only looks at the state that it cares about. And so, contrary to what Bob Nystrom was saying, it's not about cache coherence at all. In fact, their system looks more like a database, right? And you're sort of pulling stuff out of a database. You're not really worrying about cache coherence so much anymore, at least a relational database. What you're really doing is you're saying, like, hey, I care about in this system that I have that cares about like shooting things. I care about the position of the shooter, but I also care about some state related to shooting on that. And so I'm going to pull that out of two different places. So already the whole cache coherence question is out of the picture, right? Because I'm pulling memory from two different places. And I'm kind of pulling them together so I consider those two things in isolation. And I'm going to do that for every single entity that has those two things. And then I'm going to go to the next slice of business logic, which may be that once I've decided shooting, I want to decide who can hurt the other person, right? Who can hurt other entities or who can do damage to other entities. And then maybe I want another system to process those damage events or something like that. And I'm choosing these examples quite deliberately because it's actually the way that our game is structured as well. But the general idea is that it ends up simplifying things to have kind of a somewhat counterintuitive, somewhat kind of splintered apart pattern for this. Now, Tim Ford also says something where like a lot of this is about the idea that you have a team of people working on different pieces of the game. This ECS pattern is about glue code. You want something that's simple that a lot of different people will touch because it's glue code, but then you also keep their relative interests separate from each other. So the physics person is just working on physics. Maybe she doesn't even care about graphics or whatever. And this system, or this pattern rather, allows you to sort of maintain that. And the game that we're making is just me and Dom right now. God willing, maybe we'll add some more people on who are interested, maybe an artist or two. But
so good.
It would be really good, right? Or we'd have to learn how to do our own art. It would also be good, right? But we don't have cache coherence problems yet. We don't have large software engineering organizational problems yet. And at the same time, I think we're nerdy enough to want to try to experiment with like how do we organize our code so that like we can reuse code. Because even like 2 or 3 streams ago, we were just like, oh, we're so glad we factored things this way because it's so easy to add capabilities to things.
It's really paid dividends for us when seeing that happen where the behavior we wrote was translatable to other things. We got, was it deters that showed up really, really fast. And I'm interested in making a game that we can prototype new ideas in as fast as possible. And I think doing it sort of the right way will get us that instead of, I don't know, I'm sure I could spaghetti something together if I really needed to, but I don't want
now,
to.
It's true that most games are kind of held together with spit and wire. And, it's not so much how, but like what you do kind of thing. But again, that's always this kind of like ends justify the means logic that is popular in software engineering that I think for me kind of spoils the fun of like, you want to craft things well, right? Like, you care about how you use like a Japanese joinery technique to kind of put a table together. So you gotta care about these things. These are fun to think about. But I think whether we do it successfully or not, I'm not really sure. Certainly, Tim Ford makes the claim that not only is this pattern good for larger software teams, it's also good when we get into the realm of netcode. Because I think with netcode, you really want to make sure that your concerns are nicely separated. You want to make sure that like what should be a net play is a net play, and what shouldn't be isn't. And having good separation ahead of time really helps with that. So okay, that was a lot of talk. Let me actually talk about what changed. We still have wrong tab. We still have an entity class, and that's actually. I'm not actually sure if everybody does this, but this is a relatively heavy entity class. It's kind of looks like Bob Nystrom's intermediate solution, which is basically like you don't have like gigantic Uber entity classes that have a bunch of child classes. You basically just like each entity is just like a bag of functional components. So this very much still looks like the way that things were before. I did change a couple things into Booleans, right? We used to have a wall collider component, right?
They were all exactly the same, weren't they?
They were all exactly the same, yeah. And they didn't have any state either, right? So Wall didn't even have an update, right? We weren't even updating things for Wall. We just had things that were marked as walls. The wall clamping.
Right. It was like a null component, yeah.
Playfield clamping, somewhat similar, where we did have some logic for clamping like the player to the playfield, so you can't like drive off the side, right? That's what that component is in charge of. But it didn't have any state, right? All it did was like pull the transform out, do some stuff. So I converted those to Booleans. And so the first thing I will say is that like now that those are, now like the wall colliders are Boolean, where did the actual logic go? Because before we were calling an update on this actual object because it was actually a thing. Like we instantiated a new wall collider. Although ironically, I think every single wall collider was basically exactly the same for every single entity, right?
Yeah, no, it literally was.
Yeah, and it had no state, so we were just kind of instantiating something for good reason, but basically, like we didn't need to be instantiated. So the logic for this now goes into the wall collider system, and
hey, that's nice.
Yeah, so what this is doing is it's saying, okay, I've got a game, and I am implementing a piece of business logic. I'm implementing a very specific concern, which is I want to make sure that anything that cares about wall collision is going to collide with walls. And if you actually look at the Git diff, this is actually like Git thought that I moved the wall collider component to the wall collider because there's enough similarity between the code that it basically just thought it was a rename, right? The things that are new, though, is that this is all situated inside a loop over entities, right? Sorry, I'm having a post-pizza, like, phlegmy throat, you know?
Oh, that's the price you pay. It's worth it.
It's glorious, yes. And there's this little preamble in the loop that says, if the entity doesn't have a transform, or it doesn't have a wall, or the wall collider flag is not on, then I don't care about it. I'm just going to keep going, right?
Nice.
And this is going to be a pretty common pattern through every system. Every system is going to basically look through all the entities or look through all the components, figure out which entities have the right combination of either flags or components, and then disregard the rest, right? And then the rest of this logic is pretty much exactly the same, right? And it does, yeah. In wall collision, what it does is it reads some transform information, and then it writes back to the transform, right? It says, I want to move the tank back away from the wall if it's like overlapping the wall, right? There are some really silly systems, right? If I go to the transform init system, it literally says, I'm going to go over all the entities, I'm going to look at the entity and see if it has a transform. And if it does, I'm going to just like set the transform's previous position to a clone of its current position, right? And we actually had an update in the transform component that did exactly this. But I pulled that update out of the transform component and put it into the system, right? So all of our business logic now are in things called systems, and systems iterate over entities, basically.
And really, the next iteration of this would be, rather than going on to the end, like we would just get a list of every transform in the system and apply that instead of filtering through. I know transform is a bad example because everything has one right now, but wall colliders, like get the 100 wall colliders instead of going through the 5,000 entities and picking the 100 walls or something.
Yeah, yeah. In fact, I started a branch last night. I didn't quite get to it, but let me just. I called it component tables, and the entity manager. Like, I didn't delete this yet, but basically we would get rid of this. And I started on this system where I basically said, okay, I have these components in the entity manager, and like Dom, like you were saying, you just have a transform table, which basically is a key value map between an entity ID and a transform component. And all of these roughly follow the same structure. And
that's pretty easy.
Yeah, and then what we've kind of created here is basically just web programming, right? We basically have like databases, right?
Yeah, you get a nice constant time lookup of the entire entity for any time you need like all or a subset of components. That's nice.
Yeah, I mean we had that before too because we could just get the entity and the components were all on the entity object itself. So that's
but we had to do a full like end search every time if we were like looping it. When in each update it was end no matter what.
Yeah, right. So if you're looking for an entity that has the wall flag, for example, you'd have to search over all the entities.
Right, exactly.
Yeah. Now, it gets a little bit trickier because you kind of have to do that again because like you do have to iterate over your unit of iteration when you're updating a system is still the entity, but the system might care about multiple components. So what you have to do there is basically a database join where you say, give me all the entity IDs that have a valid entry in table A, table B, and table C, right? So like if I care about moving things, I need to get the entities that have a component both in transform and in motion logic, if that makes sense, right? Because otherwise, the motion system doesn't have anything to work with. So I need to find an entity that has both of those things. So you do have to do kind of like a join, and if you look at ECS libraries online, they're going to have like lots of like under the hood fancy techniques for making this operation fast. They have like bit fields and that sort of thing.
Right.
Yeah, I started on it when I was just trying to do like the super naive thing, which is just to do like set intersection using Lodash. This is totally incomprehensible, and like again, like this is just me like late at night, just like kind of being incoherent about it. But the idea would be that which did I start on any of the systems? I'm trying to see if any of the systems for this actually got transformed. Let's try. It's not that one. Yeah, it doesn't look. I'm basically going to end up like looking through all of these and seeing if there's anything in there. But oh, here we go. So what I did here is I said I'm gonna. This is incomprehensible, but like basically what I basically said is like I'm gonna join over by components because I can also do it. Basically, this is a query. Actually, it's more of a query, right? I'm going to query over the components where they have a transform and a motion logic. You could also do tags here if you're trying to also look for entities that had a particular tag. So if you're looking for the player, you could actually look for the player tag. If you're looking for playfield clamping, right? Those are the things that changed the booleans, right?
And now they're just tags and we can just add them. Yeah.
Exactly. And then you would just get an ID for the entity. And then what you would do is then just like look up the components that you wanted. Right? Because you know that you're guaranteed by this query operation that these will exist. And then you just call your logic, whatever it may be. Right. So it's actually bad if this seems cool or impressive, because like ultimately we want this to be simple, right? Like ultimately, like we're gonna have to spend some time getting our head around this stuff and to see if it actually makes sense. And otherwise, we can just go back to having the Uber entity or whatever. But I figured, I know we want to do net play in the future. I know we want to like try to play with really flexible entities and to maybe have emergent effects and that kind of thing. Like the real-time strategy aspect of this I'm really excited by, but that means like moving capabilities around between a bunch of different entities, you know?
Yep, exactly.
And so we're gonna tiptoe that line of over engineering, I think, on this and see how it goes. All right. Well, thanks for bearing with me there. I'm gonna get off this branch.
Yep.
And then go back to the one before, and we can actually just see how this is actually going to affect us, right? So I think for the most part, things are going to be pretty familiar. Really, what just happened is just like certain pieces of code just got moved around from the component class to the system. I think one important point to make here, though, is that like before we almost had this like one-to-one correspondence between components and update logic, right? And with adding the system, we've actually kind of decoupled those two things. The component is just state. Components can actually have like methods on them if you want to do things like, I want to get the access line bounding box version of this geometry rather than the minimum maximum corner version. It's just like, let me do like really, really basic transformations of the data so it's more convenient to work with. But it's not necessarily the case that like each component type will have a system, and then vice versa. It's not necessarily the case that every system is going to have a component type that's dedicated to it, right?
Right.
So,
so interesting.
Yeah. So one example of that is the playfield clamping system. It doesn't have a playfield clamping component. There is a playfield clamping flag, but it's not super meaningful state. I guess on and off is meaningful state, like it's enabled or not. So maybe this is not the best example. Maybe a better example is a component that requires a system that requires multiple components to work with, right? So one example of that is the shooter. And a shooter needs both the transform. Basically, everything needs to transform. So
everything needs to transform, yeah.
Yeah. But it also needs some kind of like custom brain that tells it how to shoot, right? So this is, I think, getting into another wrinkle where I said that components are just state, but maybe you want like shooting to be customized per entity, right? The turrets shoot differently than the player because the player shoots based on where the mouse is, right? And the turrets shoot based on where the player is and other things. And so really what this system is doing is it's not necessarily in guaranteeing consistent behavior, but it is guaranteeing that all shooting logic happens at a particular time, right? Shooters are all shooting logic is processed after wall collision and before damage, right? Maybe a better way of naming this would have been, instead of shooter logic, I call it shooter script. Maybe that's a little bit clearer because I think script more naturally means like it's a custom piece of functionality that I put onto a specific entity. Right? And then also script kind of implies data. Scripts are sort of like parameters, but really complicated. But it's not like core engine code the way that the system code is. Right.
Right. The game is executing the script.
Right. Right. Something like that. So the metaphor is a little bit tortured here. I think like the wall collider is like maybe the canonical example where like there isn't any real variation between behavior of different entities based on the system. And so basically all the logic is just straight here, right? We're going to treat all entities exactly the same way.
This actually probably goes a long way to memory and performance improvements too. We're instantiating a lot fewer objects and a lot, like each entity actually is sharing more than it was before, even when it was instantiating the same thing. So
yeah,
that's really cool.
Yeah, and it can be nice, if we were using a language that actually allowed you to allocate multiple objects like contiguously, you can imagine that you could just pre-allocate a bunch of transforms in one array rather than having each transform be in its own bucket on the heap, which is what it would be in JavaScript, right? Yeah. So I don't know. Parcel lets us do Rust. So if you ever want to get into Rust programming,
I was gonna say, I'm sure there's a reason that no one is shipping JavaScript games to like a PlayStation right now, and it's probably for losing that sort of ability.
Right. I will tell you
there probably is a JavaScript game running on PlayStation. There must be.
Actually, one of the games that I'm looking forward to the most is it's called Crosscode.
What's that?
Crosscode. It's a game that I think you can play. You can play on your new gaming PC. You could get it tonight. But it is a 2D Zelda style game, like kind of puzzle overhead view game that was done by these folks, I believe, in the Czech Republic. The name of the development team is escaping me right now, but it was like kind of this like sleeper hit darling last year or the year before, and was made in quote unquote HTML5. Which just means it was made in JavaScript very much the same way that we're making our game right now.
Okay, that's cool.
They were probably using WebGL to do like sprite textures and that kind of thing, but I think still it's just like Canvas JavaScript. And one of the reasons why I haven't played it is I don't have a gaming PC. I don't want to play it on my Mac, and so I've been waiting for it to come out on console. But it's actually a barrier to have implemented your game in JavaScript originally and try to port it onto console.
I can only imagine.
Yeah. But it is coming out next month on Switch, which feels like exactly the right platform to play it on. That style of game.
Sick. I might just install it on Steam.
Yeah, you should. And let me know how it is, because I'm super excited for it.
I was going to play Ruiner tonight and try that out now that I have.
Oh, did you get
it? I had it in the Epic Store for free already. Yeah. So now I can try it.
It's funny because I love the aesthetic of Ruiner.
Was the game just like no good?
It's cyberpunk. I didn't play it, but I read multiple reviews, and I think they had said that it was like extremely stylish and cool looking, but also thematically kind of empty and also too hard.
I save myself $60 a lot of times by just reading a couple reviews. It's great.
Yeah. Plus, you didn't pay for the game anyways, right?
This will be a treat. Yeah, I paid nothing for this.
Play it on easy. I know you play games on hard, but I think playing it on easy was the recommendation on the reviews. Yeah, and maybe it's awesome because like cyberpunk aesthetic is like totally our jam, right? Like this is going to be like cyberpunk communists.
Yes,
eat the rich with real-time strategy components.
It's my dream game. I want that so bad.
Yeah, I do too. So that development team that's making Crosscode also streams their development too, which is kind of cool.
I didn't realize so many people were doing this live.
Yeah, I think we're kind of riding on we're being stampeded by giants to sort of like modify the metaphor a little bit. We're not riding on the shoulders. We're kind of being crushed by them. But no, everybody who does anything online says they did it for a year and nobody knew about it, and then suddenly some random thing happened. And that's just the way it goes. Yeah,
I'm not doing this for the exposure. It's fun.
You're doing it for the excuse, the retail excuse, right? You can buy more gear. That
really wasn't my goal. We are streaming at 60 FPS though, so.
Yeah, it worked. Yeah, I mean, we're like our acquisitions have been
strategic,
but also retail therapy, right? Like we started, we got like the capture card, we got another capture card, we got like the audio program that allows you to like route different things in Mac OS, which is simultaneously dope and also like something that the OS should just give you like out of the box.
I know this is really like baseline stuff, but it's so cool.
Yeah.
I enjoyed programming this as much as so many other programming tasks.
Oh yeah, it's awesome, right? This configuration, there's like cool knobs. This is a brilliant program. It's fun to use, right? Yeah. Okay, so Sorry, I'm feeling the pizza again.
No, you're good. Harry, I'm gonna go get a glass of water because
Yeah,
my
you do that.
streaming setup is now in a hot attic
Oh
instead
no.
of a cool, shady bedroom.
Yes,
1 second.
yes. Moisturize. Hydrate. Meanwhile, I'm gonna get my butt kicked by some turrets here. It's actually kind of zen. With this control scheme, I'm not really sure what to look at on the screen. I'm kind of looking in between the cursor, which is where the tank is shooting, and where my tank is, so I can somewhat unsuccessfully avoid getting shot. I'm kind of like looking at the space in between them, so it catches my peripheral vision. And I was reasonably successful. I probably only have like one more hit left before I die.
Did you win?
Well, that's a philosophical question, right? Did I win? I resorted to violence, right? In a certain sense, we all lose. Although it's really dope that this cannon in the back doesn't shoot its buddy, right?
I like it a lot now. Yeah.
Oh, now I died. Oh, we have a crash too, don't we?
I think we introduced that with the raycasting, where when the player dies, something continues to check for it.
Yeah, potential hits 0 is undefined. Look at our frame counter there; it's going wild. Do you mind if I fix that really first?
Do it. Let's do it. I really like that the player could be destroyed, and then the turrets kept shooting. So
yeah.
Ooh. Did we crash the?
No, I think I was manipulating Git. And
Mm.
so that was what the terminal was doing.
Gotcha.
So the tank, I believe, is all in one file, right? Or the turret is all in one file.
Yeah.
And the shooter logic is here, and this makes sense. And it's saying, did I find the player?
Mhm.
And what happens? The player should still be there, right?
I thought we marked the player for deletion on destruction.
That removes it out of the entity manager state.
Mm-hmm.
Like delete just removes it from the table of entities. It removes it from the hash table. But the game
still has a pointer to it.
Right.
Okay.
So what's going on there? Let's try it again. Okay, so that's our crash.
Mm-hmm.
Potential hits is undefined, and we think it's in.
I think it's in turret index. Yeah. Potential 0 is undefined. Importantly,
we just assumed that there was a potential hit. Right.
Oh, because there always is, because there's always a player.
Oh, right, because we iterate over here and we find a player. So basically what we have to say is like if potential hits dot length is 0 or the first hit is not the player. Because we sorted them by distance, right?
Yeah.
We can actually even early out before the sort, right? We would early out here. Is that the idea? Does it matter?
If player is...
What I'm saying is if potential hits is 0.
Oh, right, because we're... Yeah.
Maybe that's a little simpler to reason about.
Yep, I like that.
Okay.
Dot length is 0.
Oh, yes. Good old TypeScript. Sorry, it's having a hard time knowing which window I'm in, or I'm having a hard time knowing which window I'm in. They should just stop shooting, right? That's great.
Indeed, they do.
Yeah.
Oh, because they used to shoot. They used to shoot your like invisible corpse forever. Great. We did that too.
Yeah. Nice. All right. Well, one bug in the bank. Spend the money. Start spending money. Buy another gaming PC. It's the millions are rolling.
I'll do it. I'll do it. Don't dare me.
You got to get one where the glass panel angle goes the other way, right? So they can sit next to each other and have full symmetry.
I mean, I bought a black and white PC with blue mood lighting, and this is just a PS5. Like, it just looks like a new PS5. I thought the aesthetic was silly, and then I bought something exactly like it. So,
I got to say, the PS5 is ugly enough that like I actually am having second thoughts about getting one. Like, I'll still probably get one, but like I'm like slightly like, A, is that going to even fit in my entertainment? Do I have to buy new furniture for this thing? And then B, it's also kind of like, gosh, that thing is really ugly. It's like very silly looking, right?
it's pretty silly looking. It's clear they designed the entire thing to be a fan, right? Like,
Oh, is that what it is?
well, like it doesn't sit flat, so you can't zero out the airflow, and it's got those like wings, so you can't put anything on the fans. I feel like they were like, people put PS4s in closets and they overheated. So you know what? Y'all sucked. We're not gonna let you do that again. We made it round and bendy.
That is really interesting because I feel like
That was when I saw it. I was like, oh, they don't want you to. It runs hot, and they want it to be quiet.
what's the name of the new Xbox? Series X?
Yeah, I was gonna take a guess. It has a lot of X's in it.
Xbox Series X. I feel like they went the opposite direction. They're just like, we're going to make it look like a PC. Like, it literally is just like a PC, right?
It's bigger.
If you build a micro ITX, like a micro ITX, which has like one PCI card slot on it, right? Like, that would be smaller than an Xbox Series X, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I thought the PS5 looked fine, and then I was like, I know an Xbox won't fit into my entertainment center that's like got a gap this tall. So like,
Yeah.
you've kind of made a choice for me already.
Right. Okay, so moving on ahead, I think we wanted to draw the line of sight.
Mm-hmm.
So our debug draw pattern currently is we do all the debug drawing basically pretty late in the renders in the update loop, because we basically want to render everything before we render the debug stuff.
Yeah.
And because our drawing is basically Painter's algorithm means that whatever's in the back we draw first, and then whatever's in the front we draw last. That is in contrast to something like Z-buffering, which we experimented with a little bit, like our very first stream, right, when we were doing OpenGL and that kind of thing. One of the advantages of Z-buffering is you can just draw your stuff all out of order because there is a Z component, like the Z-buffer knows what to draw, right? But we're doing what's known as Painter's algorithm right now, where we just like all the stuff in the front, we just draw last, right? Which is a great way of doing it. But that does mean that the debug draw logic sits outside of the components themselves, right? So we iterate over all our entities, and we say, okay, if there's no transform, we probably can't position this thing in space anyways, so we're just going to skip it. If it's got a damageable, we're going to draw its damageable box, and I think we can just do that right now. And if it has a damager, we're going to draw its a hurt box. I think that's what it's called. I think it's hitbox and hurt box are the two
That's funny.
complementary terms. Yeah, two new terms I learned the other day, which are cool, is allow list and deny list, because we're trying to get away from blacklist and whitelist language. I think people are kind of rallying around block list as the replacement for blacklist.
That seems like you don't want things to change too much, just a little.
Yeah. You just get rid of the little tick around the A, and
I mean, it's the same as main and master, though, right? Like,
yeah.
I like it because it's a better word. Also, like, my tab completions keep working, so win-win.
I think I like deny list better, just because I'm like, I used to configure Apache servers, and they just had allow and deny, right?
Allow and deny, yeah. I think I use ban list.
Ban list.
Yeah.
I kind of like that too.
Yeah.
I like that better than block list. I like deny list and ban list better. Although allow and ban are, I guess those are antonyms, right?
I've used permit and ban. I think allow deny is the thing I think of. That is an Apache config, you're right.
Yeah. So I'm going to be like the stodgy, politically correct, like ultra language nerd, right? Where it's like, it's deny list, not block list. Because allow and block aren't opposites, you know, like just something completely like obtuse, you know.
I feel like that's it's good because it reminds like it's like silly tiny words and naming things is hard, but also like I pick bad names every day, so
yeah,
I like having fights over inconsequential terms, especially when they're like two that are fine.
Right. At any rate, I don't even know how I got down that route because we're talking about debug draw right now.
Were you about to allow and deny something?
I wasn't even. I think I just wanted to have a rant about language. So we have basically, if there's a damageable, we'll draw the damageable. Oh no, because we were talking about hitboxes and hurtboxes. We're talking about kind of like neologisms, as it were, new game terminology that I didn't even use when I was making games. Hitbox and hurtbox. There was hitbox for sure, and then the other one was just like the attack wrecked. You know, it was very, very, very laden with syllables and very direct. Yeah, so we'll draw that. And the technique that we do here is there's a function on the component that we both use for processing the logic of the component and also to draw the debug component of it. And if we can figure out something the same for the turret shooters as well, that would be really nice. Because otherwise, if we don't have that, then we might end up not being true to what the component is doing logically if we don't also draw the same thing. Right.
Yeah, I think shooter logic seems like it might have something for that.
Yeah. So,
and if not, we can store it.
One of the tricky things that we've got here is that we don't know how to separate the player shooters from the turret shooters.
What if we drew this? What if we drew the line for all shooters in debug mode?
We could. The shooter logic component doesn't have any interface other than to update itself.
Okay.
So another thing that go ahead. I'm sorry.
I was gonna say it relies on orientation, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like this is actually the shooter logic is just based on the transform.
Yes. Let's take a look at this again. We figure out the distance to the player, and we draw this line of sight. And I actually think that this might be the thing that we want to draw.
Mm-hmm.
Or
I have a question.
Yeah.
The line of sight, is that wrong? Because it's actually drawing from wherever the turret is to wherever the player is.
Mm-hmm.
But if the turret is facing this way, it's drawing a line sideways from the turret instead of out this way. It's not actually line of sight based on the direction.
Yeah, we actually, I think we had talked about this a little bit near the end of last stream, where because
it was an acceptable trade-off because it's so slow, or
I think it was I think it's exactly what you're saying. Where because the player now moves so slowly that the turret's turn speed can basically lock onto the player perfectly, basically. That there was essentially going to be no visible discrepancy between where the turret was pointing and where the line of sight was being drawn.
Yep.
Now, if the player could move much faster than the turret could turn, then we'd have a problem, right? Because it's like a line of sight would be like, what can the turret, like person piloting the turret see, like looking out of the cockpit window versus where's the actual gun pointed. Right? And we want to base it off of where the gun is being pointed. So if we wanted to correct this to make it more correct, or to make it more accurate, we'd probably base this on like orientation, right?
I was just thinking that, and then actually the drawing the line of sight depends not on another component. You only need the transform of the entity you're inspecting.
Right. Yeah. I'm trying to think here.
I guess I'm also wondering if that is potentially what part of our bug is in terms of player to turret miss, like whatever that gap in the wall that's not being seen through is.
Would you hate it if I moved the shooter logic in the turret to its own system?
To its own system?
Yeah.
Or no.
Well, I think basically what we'd like to try to do is to find a way to just redo this same logic.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's not that important. I'm happy to copy and paste, actually, but we could pull it out into utility function, right? Like both the system uses the utility function to do this, and then also the debug draw uses it as well.
Right.
That's a perfectly good way of doing it as well.
I see what you're saying. Yeah, let's...
Let's worry about factoring it later. I think I can just try to like do what you were saying. So basically what you were saying is like, if the entity's ID is not the player, then we're going to draw line of sight, right?
Mm-hmm.
What's it complaining about here? Oh, it's an option. Player.map or null, and then this should be p.id. What map does is it says if the player option is something, run this function and return the return value.
That's great.
Or
I like that.
Yeah, I didn't invent that. This is a classic maybe library type thing.
Oh no, just like I didn't know that was in our code base yet. That's great.
Yeah. I basically copied the Rust option library and pulled out the things that seemed like it makes sense for the JavaScript world.
Nice.
And hopefully that like, again, this is the type of thing that like could be over engineering, but like I think after we put it through its paces a couple times, it'll become clear whether that's going to become second nature or if it's just going to be just more confusing than it's worth, right?
Mm-hmm.
Certainly, it's less typing. It appeals to the Ruby programmer in me.
I like it. I wish JavaScript had this by default.
Yeah. Yeah, totally. Okay. So if it's not the player, then we're just going to draw the line of sight, right? And we said the line of sight looks like this. And I mean, we could just draw this now, right?
Yeah.
I don't even remember how to do lines.
Yeah, wait, have we even done those yet?
What's that?
I know you wrote that, but I forgot how it worked.
I forgot how it works too. Render interface. A line takes style from its new and a width. Very cool. What do we think? Red?
Sure.
So we don't even need that segment.
So this section look like a bunch of laser sights that immediately train onto the player.
Yeah. So is this going to tell us anything, right? Is an interesting question.
Yep.
It'll look cool.
It'll look cool.
I'm writing CSS here.
Yep. Also, I think this needs to be scoped to shooters. Or are you still on damager?
Oh yes, you're right. This needs to be scoped to shooters. If
E.shooter logic and or other way around, yeah. Mm-hmm. All right. I'm surprised it's not drawing anything already. Wait.
It's not drawing anything.
We've also lost our boxes. Something went wrong. The walls no longer have boxes.
Yes, that's correct. Dude, what did I do? Oh, that's this, first of all. Oh, this is still an option. This dot player. Let's just do an unwrap for now. Oops, unwrap.
Transform.
One by one. There we go. So it was basically this one that was like the good litmus test, right?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
So yeah, I right now this looks cool, but I don't think it tells us anything.
Mm-hmm.
Which is too bad. It looks cool though.
What are the other things that are worth?
So I guess what we actually want is we want the line between the shooter and what it thinks its first hit is.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Like that's what we should be drawing the line to.
Okay. So what's a good way of exposing this? Is there a way where we can put this logic into the component rather than, or into the system at least, or into the component rather than at the game level? Because the game, we're already outside of the logic. It kind of doesn't know.
Yeah, I mean, we could. It'd be nice if we could sort of drop in debug renderables.
Mm-hmm.
And then our render loop is render one layer, then render the second layer, basically.
Yeah, one thing I was thinking about is that we would have, at the game level,
mm-hmm.
I think exactly what you're saying, debug renderables.
Mm-hmm.
And these would be just an array of renderables.
Mm-hmm. I like that.
And then maybe we should maybe debug draw is probably a more complete way of saying that.
Yeah.
And then what we could do is everything just has the responsibility of checking this first, and if so, it'll stuff a bunch of renderables into this. And then what we do down here when we render is if this.debug draw,
mm-hmm.
rather than doing this thing, we would just do for is this going to iterate over my indexes, or is it going to iterate over the values of the array?
Values.
Let me just,
because it's an array, right?
X equals 1, 2 for const v in x log v.
No.
Oh no.
Can you do two? What if you do const iv?
like this.
As a tuple?
I don't think it's going to work. I don't think
this is a Rubyism, isn't it? Great. Okay.
You know, do you remember CoffeeScript? CoffeeScript had this, which was fun. But maybe instead, what we can do is this debug for each. This is a very mature way of doing it, right? And then what we do here is this render v. Let's
Love it.
call this R.
Yeah.
And we make. Yes, go ahead. I'm sorry.
I was going to say, we can just replace all of this in a second.
Exactly. That's what I was thinking. So inside of our oh, you know what would be fun to do? This might be too much. I'm not going to worry about that for now. I was going to say we can make a function on the game that's like add renderable, but rather than taking a renderable, it would take a lambda that would only get called if the debug mode was on. And that's just a way of obscuring the debug mode flag on the game. I'm not going to worry about that for now.
Okay.
Yeah. But I think you were picking up what I was putting down. Yeah. So I think what we were doing here is something like this. If game debug draws on, game.debugRenderables.push
that whole object.
One of these things. Right.
Yeah. Yep.
And then this is just transform here.
And the 2 is actually the transform of what we think our potential hit is, right? That's the transform of potential hit 0. So we want to see what it actually thinks it's pointing at.
Oh, right. So you're one step ahead of me here. Let me just make sure this draws. And then I think what I'd like to also do here is clear this. So we're not extending at every frame, right?
Agreed. Debug mode, you need to change the keyboard function for that.
Where did we set that?
It's in here. Oh, yeah, you just passed it. That's
cool.
it. Yeah.
That was a weird autocomplete.
Cool. And then I guess we don't have that debug mode constant anymore. That's nice. Yep.
That works, but it's not drawing. It's crashed, so that's good, right?
It's great. We did it.
Player.unwrap. Oh, okay. Yeah. So in the shooter, the player is no longer this maybe that's sitting at the game level, right? It's
yep.
It's just the player. And is the player always going to be findable?
We're inside the map for it, so it better be.
Okay. Yes. Still not getting it. Oh, there we go.
It is. That's great.
Oh, because we're not in range, right?
Right, exactly.
Okay, this is great. This is the kind of side effect that we were wanting, right? But you were saying that this is the wrong thing to be drawing, right? We need to draw this later. Yeah, maybe even here, right?
Before the early return, I think. So we draw to potential hit 0, dot transform.
And what is potential hit? Is that an entity? Yes.
It's an entity and a distance. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, close this.
So, hang on. Cool.
Oh, you know what? It's seeing they're seeing the bullets. Is that bad?
It's
Well,
seeing the bullets.
It should only see the other damageables, right? Bullets aren't
Yeah.
dangerous. So
Well,
why are these? Why are we getting flicker here? Isn't that interesting?
That was going to be my first question because it started flickering as you drove in, and I could not figure out why. If you get closer, does it stop? Not really. Wow, look at that. The lines between the turrets not shooting each other is great, though.
Yeah. Oh, you know what? The flicker is that we have the cooldown, right? Should we be doing cooldown before we actually fire?
I mean, the nice thing is that we skip a lot of logic.
Yeah. But we want the debug draw, right?
Yeah, here's the thought. Change the debug renderable to a map keyed by ID, so everything can keep overwriting its own debug renderable. But you don't have to clear it.
Okay, yeah, that's great.
Yeah, right? Because then actually we'll see the line will start snapping with cooldown, but at least it'll stay on the screen.
Yes. Yeah. We'll want to think about that design long term, but for the purposes of like solving this particular problem, I like it.
Yeah, and it's better than what we got. So
it's better than what we got until an entity dies, right? And then we want to make sure that like it's not drawing the But you're saying something like
bingo. Yeah, I like that it applies well to our replacing the bottom chunk of our debug rendering as well. So
yeah, I think we'll want to think about this one a little bit more because I think I would almost rather save the previous renderable in the component and then draw it again or something like that. Like,
that makes sense.
Yeah. Anyways, let's keep trucking though. I think this is fine for the time being. And this is great. I love this new system that we've made for this. Why is it complaining?
Well, we don't need to clear it anyway, so.
Oh, right. We don't need to. For each.
Can you do for object.keys.forEach? It's gotta be. It's.
Yeah, I'll just do the for const k in this debug renderables r equals this debug. What a horrible language.
I can't believe it makes us do that. Yeah.
In fact, I don't need the temporary.
Nah, because you would have to make that a const var or something.
Yeah. And then we need to make sure that this is doing the right thing, right? So this is going to early out if the list of potential hits is 0, right? Is that another source of flicker? We could flicker because of this. We could flicker because of this. We could flicker because of this, right? But I think it was actually the cooldown that was killing us before, right?
It's another cooldown because the player turning it off is good. So I guess I see the flaw in my system where there's gonna be a lot of debug garbage left on the screen.
What if? Yeah, let me try this really quickly, and let me roll
back.
Yeah, and see if this will do it for us. It's a little bit less code, and I think it's a little maybe a smidge more future proof.
Okay.
Okay, so that's gotten rid of our flicker at least, and we still have cooldown there. So this is I think approximating what we're going for here, right?
Yeah, and they're snapping, which is great.
Can you see these? Is that visible? Should I increase the width, maybe?
No, you're great. It's super legible on my screen and on the stream.
What I mean is you can see the vision lines of these turrets that are currently obstructed.
Yep.
Okay. So I believe it was this one?
Oh wait, well shoot out the brick that it sees. Yeah. I want to see where it. Why? Why would it do that?
Okay. So this is perfect. This is amazing,
yeah.
right? This is actually telling us what we want, which is
That's
really
what I
cool.
wanted to know.
Yeah.
What the heck?
I love our new debug system. It's like this is the stuff that I get excited about. It's not even the gameplay stuff. It's like, can I solve future programming problems more effectively, right? Okay, so our algorithm is let's actually just now you see it already.
We iterate through every wall. No, maybe not. It's. I think.
Well, it's the sorting by distance that maybe is the problem, right?
This one should never be in the list because it shouldn't intersect with the array we're casting for the player.
Yes.
Can we draw that too? Can we draw like the site and the raycast, which is the player position?
This one.
Yeah. So I guess we do 2 debug render roles, which is great. We can do it.
And then let's make this one yellow.
Yeah.
Or let's try another color that we're not using already. Because yellow is the color of the turret. Huh?
Purple?
Purple's great. Purple.
And then just player.transform. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Every time.
I know. It's... So there... Yeah, I'm very confused that...
Yeah, this is not an intersection, right? So we have a bug in our intersection code.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so we've got a perfectly vertical line since we're doing segment, which is one of our base cases or one of our special cases.
Right, and this is line of sight here, right?
Huh.
The purple line is line of sight.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah, so in fact, like we could log some of these. We could maybe extrapolate what the point is and test it specifically. We could also re-examine sort of what our segment code and see if we can figure out what's up.
Yeah.
That's weird. Damn.
I'm trying to figure out how we're going to log this, because this is like one turret amongst many, and this is one wall amongst many. How do we isolate it down to those two?
Can we? We can't get the entity under the mouse click, can we?
We can by writing a bunch of code.
Do we already have it from the map editor? Because that'd be cool.
We don't have it in the map editor, but we can definitely copy. Yeah, we can copy and paste from the map editor at least to get a world position, and then what we'd have to figure out is like
tile position from world position.
Yes, assuming that entities occupy tiles uniquely, right? And then we can figure that out, right? And it would be more like we'd click on a tile, we'd figure out the area of the tile, and we'd find out which entity's position is within that tile, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's a little gnarly.
Okay.
One other way that we could try... I mean, really what we want to know is like, yeah, what are the positions here? And we could kind of like simulate at least the math. We could log out what all this stuff is based on what we click on.
Yeah, I wonder if we could simulate it. You know, we tested segment to segment. Did we? I'm not sure we ran any tests for segment to AABB. Can we?
Just take a look at the implementation.
Yeah, just make sure we didn't get it wrong. Oh, I remember why I hated this.
So AABB is the S is the segment, which is the starting point and the ending point, and I don't think that they're ordered in any meaningful way, right? Two vec2s. AABB though is always going to be the north,
west, and southeast.
Yeah, it would actually be easier for me to reason about it if we did northwest and southeast. Is that if we just
do it? Yeah,
and maybe by rewriting it, we'll discover a bug.
Yeah, it's maybe let's just do that again.
Yeah, southeast is going to be this, right? And the top segment is going to be the northwest to the
northeast.
And the northeast is what?
Can we write those out too? Let's just do all those ones so we don't. Yeah. North.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
Let me. I'm gonna get tired of writing these. Northwest, northeast is gonna look like this. In the northeast, the x coordinate is going to be this one, right? It's going to be the.
And it's the AABB is 10, the y coordinate of the first point.
This one? Oh, it's 10, right? Right here.
Sorry, 0. Oh yeah, no, correct. 0, 1. Yes, the second x, the first y.
I'm just confusing myself, basically.
It's, you know what? I'm happy to do this one again because it was weird.
AABB of, we want the first point y coordinate, right? Because we're going down from the northwest.
No, second point's y, first point's x for the bottom.
Second point's y, first point's x.
First point x, yeah. And southeast is second point, yeah.
Okay, I barely made it through that one alive.
I feel much less embarrassed for doing the exact same thing on stream last week.
Yeah, this is northeast, north, or northwest, northeast. Let's go. The bottom segment is southwest, southeast. The left segment is northwest, southwest. And the eastern segment, we could just use these terms correctly, right? And then
you just got SE, yeah.
Okay. Did that actually change anything? Who the hell knows? It didn't. Okay.
Bummer.
Great. What if we made a really simplistic map that we could log out on? Is there a way that we can simulate this? Right.
Let's do it. Yeah, do you want to just make the map super null with a player, a wall, and a turret in the top right corner and find a base case? Let's do it.
Exactly.
Tools map, something.
That's weird that the router does that though, right? You would think that what did I call it?
Map /index. Yeah, it's in your history. There you go.
Okay.
All right, so take us to the top corner. Or the center. Let's use right on the center.
Let's use the center, right?
Yeah.
Let me draw some grass real quick. What was my terrain? Is it F? Oh, R is terrain. Just going to draw some grass here, just so we don't get too confused by the blink.
I mean, it'll be sweet magenta, whatever's not there.
Yeah. Yeah, you're right. Okay.
Yeah, that's good.
And then we'll have a turret the player is just going to start where the player is, right? So we'll have a turret here and a wall here and the player basically here.
And I expect that to fail.
It's geometrically the same situation, so hopefully it will fail, right?
Yeah.
All right, let's export that. And we are just going to replace this whole thing.
Goodbye, sweet map.
Yeah. And Parcel's going to chew on it for quite a long time.
Oh, Parcel doesn't reload on it, does it? You just have to hit refresh. I just thought Parcel didn't reload.
It didn't reload on JSON changes. Interesting.
Oh. Maybe.
Oh, it's still trying to format JSON here. Cancel. It did it anyways.
Did it anyway. Great. Damn it.
Okay. That was nasty, brutish, and short. Notice how it's shooting the entire time.
Right, because you're on, essentially. But I think you can actually...
Oh, it should shoot, right? I mean, we never said that it shouldn't shoot just because it's not aiming at the player. We just said it should shoot if it's within range of the player, right?
Right.
That's another subtle logical issue, right?
Mm-hmm. Which I'm kind of okay with, to be honest, because you can get some funny stuff where if you strafe a turret fast enough, it'll keep firing off, kind of in a wild, funky arc, and it'll just have to deal with it.
The turret should shoot if it thinks it has any chance of hitting the player, right? So maybe it could be a fan out from the front of the... Yeah.
That would be like, yeah. So if you reload and go back to move right a pixel and turn debug mode on. So we're close. We could simulate it.
Yeah, so let's just move
the player over one. Yep.
Move the player over one, right? And we know we need to update the map editor so it basically intelligently figures out where the last terrain tile is, maybe, or the last entity or something, so it doesn't make a map that's this big, right?
Oh, yeah, that's a good idea.
Yeah, I wanted to have a resize, kind of like like you can resize an image in Photoshop kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Boy, so much to do. But this is great. This is great. This will allow us to really kind of dig into what's going on here, right? Mm-hmm. Okay, so what we want to do is, I mean, really...
you want to just debug step through?
I do.
Yeah, let's do that. Because let's see what every segment it thinks it's hitting is. Let's look at the potentials.
Okay. Yeah, so what I'll do is I'm going to set a breakpoint basically here. Mm-hmm. And then, what is the debug menu hotkey again? Debug, Explorer, search, run, Command Shift D.
Whoa.
That is totally not doing that.
You hit the right command. What the fuck?
Command Shift D. That's very disturbing. It does it in Chrome.
You know what? That's fine.
That's fine. It is fine. It's showing up okay on your screen, right?
Yeah, I got your whole screen.
Let me stop the debugger. I will continue. I want to get the game running first.
Mm-hmm.
Whoa. I've got these phantom breakpoints everywhere. And then now let us set it here. Okay, so now we're broken.
Mm-hmm. Oh, wait, can you unpause it, turn on debug mode before we... Well, you know what, it doesn't matter. We know what it is.
No, it's fine.
Thanks.
Okay. So...
You can make this a little bigger, actually. Or wider.
Like this?
Yeah, it's much better.
Okay. And let me also... Oh, that's not going to resize because the...
Correct.
The game's not playing right. No.
Whatever.
Let me just. Yeah, there we go. That's what I wanted to have happen. I just really wanted to know that it worked more than anything else.
Okay, cool.
Blow that out, and then let me move this over just a tiny bit so it's a little bit easier to see the variables. Right.
Okay, so we're gonna step through, and other will be like we got wall and player. Pretty limited here.
Yeah, so
and that's the
we're
wall,
on the wall currently, right? Because we can see the player's UUID and it's different. And this is itself, right?
Ah, great.
Yeah,
okay.
ID and entity ID are the same.
That makes sense.
Yep. And we're going to step over that. We're going to go to the next one. This one
should be the wall.
Also not the player. This is the wall, right? And it makes sense. We spawn the entities basically by rows, right? And so the first entities that are in the list are going to be,
good point.
Turret, wall, player. Okay. And so this one should not have any overlap, right? So this is the meaningful thing that we should step into. Is that correct?
Yeah. Yes.
And
too deep. Out and back in again. We're just an A, BB. Yeah.
Okay.
Great.
So the segment here, S, is boy, it's interesting how perfect those numbers are. It's almost just disturbing. But I think it makes sense because we haven't moved anything.
When these are tile lines, so they're too centered. We drew the turret to the left point of the origin. Yeah, right. It makes sense.
What happened to your camera? But I don't see you anymore. Did I close you?
You lost me.
Oh, here you are. There we go.
Oh, okay,
sorry,
great.
I was very disturbed by not seeing your face. It's important.
Yep. When we have another webcam, it'll be weird because you'll see a different face than the stream sees.
Yeah. Okay. So let's go ahead and get all these over here. Just make sure these numbers all make sense to us, right? So first of all, the projected line I think is correct because we're drawing it. It is the purple one, but we have -12, which is here. Which is here because it basically the tank or the turret is actually to the northwest of the origin.
Do you still have the map editor open? We can look at it too.
Yeah, we can. Yeah,
exactly
it's in this quadrant here, which is -.
Yep, and our tiles are 24 by 24.
Correct.
So that sounds right. It's not going to redraw. It's paused.
It's kind of funny how the debug. I don't even know how it's. I don't know how Chrome is picking this color. Or maybe did we pick that? Oh, it's because that's what the background color is of the page, right? We made it purple.
Right.
Right. Okay. It's all coming together. Okay.
So I agree. Segment looks correct.
And northwest is 24, -24.
Okay, wait. I have a thought. Those numbers are too big. No, they're not. Wait. Are they? How can we have both 0, 24, -24, and 48 all in one object? No, never mind. That's fine. Yep, I'm just tripping. Yeah, so I think these are good, right? Because north has the same y coordinates, south have the same y coordinates. The south y coordinates are greater than the north y coordinates, right? Yep. West is 24. So, northwest has a 24x coordinate. Southwest has a 24x coordinate. Southeast has a 48x coordinate. Northeast has a 48x coordinate. I think those all make sense. Yep. No, never mind. That's totally correct. Okay. So let's segment and see what we got. Yep. So we have to step into each one of these things because we're not assigning them. Oh, step into, not over. Yeah. Oh, shoot. That's okay.
Okay, we'll just
It comes up true.
we'll just come to here, and yeah, we know that it comes up true. So now we're on the player. So let's go back again, and this should be the turret again. So I'm gonna try not to flub this one.
Huh.
We're gonna step in and then step out, and then step in, step over, and then step in.
Great.
Okay. I forgot which one we started with. This is we go top, bottom. We go north, south, west, east, right?
I think so, yeah.
All right, let's just take a look. Let me get rid of this. Oh, you know what? This is in the same file. It's just down here.
Oh, there you go.
This is the north edge,
North,
the south edge,
west, east.
the west edge. Yeah, okay. All right. If there is no AABB overlap from the line segment, and there's going to be, the north edge AABB is just, it's like narrow edge, right?
I'm gonna guess that it is in fact the west segment that's doing it. So we'll see.
So this should fail, and it does.
Great.
I'm going to step in.
Yep.
The whole time. This is the south. It should also. Well, the south.
Let's make sure.
Is in there. The south is in there, right? Yeah, the south one's in there.
Wait. Oh, I see. Right. We're looking at the
how did it just jump over here?
Oh,
what the hell just happened?
I hate when that happens.
What are we on right now? Let's look at the call stack. We're still in the south one. I don't know what happened.
Okay.
Let me. I don't know what's going on with the.
Yeah, but we got in there, so it's okay. What the hell? Why does it keep doing that? Is it jump? It's jumping to line formula for a second. Is that what's up?
Yeah. And you know what it is? It must be a source map problem. What is going on in our debug console here? Is there a console.log, like a phantom one, hanging out? Okay, so we survived all of that.
Huh?
I don't really know how to interpret our line formula stuff here. ABC looks like that. At least the second one does look like it's horizontal, right? We said we're on the south edge, and we said that use the x multiplier. So the x coordinate doesn't matter. What we're saying is the y is always equal to some value, which is 0. Which makes sense because that is this line here is the origin, right?
Okay, so wait a second. We're saying we're about to return true because u is 0. Because we have an AABB overlap.
Yeah.
There's a bug.
So our logic was that if there's an AABB overlap and one of the line segments is horizontal or vertical, then that's clearly wrong, right? Because you could even move the west edge is going to return true as well, right?
Yep.
Based on this.
What we didn't do was check. Yeah.
And let me see. What happens if u is 0? Is something going to fail? I mean, this math won't fail if u is 0, right?
Yeah.
None of this math will.
No, you should be able to get a point of intersection for the horizontal line. The vertical one is where it gets trickier.
Yeah, because what is the vertical one is. Yeah, sorry, go ahead.
Well, what we have to do is we have to special case vertical such that if you have a vertical line, you need to find out what the value on the other segment is for the x coordinate, and like make sure that's not in the segment that you're checking. So we can't do A, B, B overlap necessarily. It's a bummer.
Yeah. What I don't love about this math is that the ordering of the two line segments matters. Right. If S2 and S1 were reversed, our special cases would be different, right? Because like we care that like it's specifically A, which comes from the first line segment here, right? Which is arbitrary. Right. We could have reversed their order. So I think that's what makes it challenging about the way that we've implemented this, that like there are a number of conditions that could make this fail.
Well, given this, do you want to do the weird matrix version?
I do, actually. I do.
Yeah, let's just drop that in because it's a formula that we have.
Yeah, I actually kind of want to do the just really quickly. I just want to, like, because we're into principles here.
Yeah, that horrible thing.
Oh wait, this one here. Was this what we were talking about?
No. I thought it was.
Let me go back. I saw a better one. This is not so complicated. I love these Stack Overflow people who are flexing. This is the one that I saw.
This is the one, yeah. Right, vector cross products, yes.
Yeah, so what's interesting is it's the two-dimensional cross, which if you'll notice, this person defines, I think it's a he. I don't want to misgender them. Gareth. Well, they say that they're just defining cross product as being technically there is no 2D cross product. Cross product is like strictly a three-dimensional concept, but they are saying that it is actually a scalar value. Cross products are normally vectors, right? You do the the right hand, like A cross B makes it's in the direction of your thumb, but it has a magnitude as well. If you're on a flat plane, A cross B is always going to be the vector projecting up from the piece of paper, right?
That's cool.
So that's why you can effectively treat it as scalar, because it's never going to like vary in its orientation away from the piece of paper, from the flat plane. And if it's negative, it's going the opposite direction, right?
That's neat. Okay, clever.
So there actually isn't anything super significant about this derivation about the geometric intuition of the cross product. What this formulation does is it just uses it as an algebraic trick. So we'll get into. I'm not saying that I understand this derivation, but like I think I can understand it from step to step, not necessarily from beginning to end. So what they're saying is that the segments are composed of an origin P for one of the segments, and then an offset R, and so the segment is basically P plus R, right? So R is actually this vector here, and P is whatever vector is pointing from. Let's say the origin is right here. This is P, this right. Vector there, right? And same thing with Q and S. And so what they're saying is that the two segments intersect or rather the two lines intersect, lines starting from P and Q. If we can find some multiplier times R, and then some other multiplier times S, such that the values are equal to each other, right? Which makes sense, right? Because P is bold here. I don't know if you can tell on the stream or whatever that this is bold text, but that means that is an X and Y component. So what this is saying is that the X value of this expression is equal to the x value of the right-hand expression, and the y value of the expression on the left is equal to the y value of the expression on the right, right? So that means that they're the same point, right? So all that's saying is that there is some amount that we can stretch R from P that it will cross Q plus S if we stretch S out by some other amount, right? Yeah. So we already have like 6 different variables. Starting to get confusing, right? So how do we simplify it? So here's where the algebraic trick comes in. What they do here is they say, we arbitrarily define this cross product value as to like basically create a scalar value, which is cross both sides by S. Algebraically, that's fine. Now, here's the exploitation. Is what they're saying is that like we know that S cross S equals 0. And let's actually just take a look at that again, right? If you take the same value cross itself,
get 0.
You can get 0. Yeah. And so that allows us to simplify this right-hand side down, right? Because it means that we on one side we only have Q cross S. And on this side we have this complicated thing. And then basically they reduce this down to this expression here, right? So T times R cross S, Q minus P cross S. Like, there's no geometric intuition here whatsoever, at least for me. It's just like, okay, that right. I get that if I do the dumb arithmetic, that's what it comes out to, right? Solving for T, they get this thing, they get this thing, blah, blah, blah. Basically, they do a bunch of like algebraic derivation here. And so what they say is that if R cross S is equal to 0, and Q minus P cross R is equal to 0, the two lines are collinear. Okay. And if they're collinear, there's some logic here. If second case is if R cross S is equal to 0. So there's actually some overlap between this and this. Right.
Right.
One of the things that we do know is that cross products, if the cross product of two vectors is 0, and this is in 3 dimensions, that means they're parallel, right? Like that's just something that you got to learn in whatever, like geometry or algebra 2 or whatever, and you just kind of accept. But the cross product is also the area of the parallelogram between two vectors, right? You have like two vectors and you draw like a parallelogram. That's the area. But if they're parallel, that parallelogram is collapsed into a line. It has 0 area, right? That's sort of the intuition there. So notice how R cross S equals 0 is a case for both 1 and 2. And that makes sense because actually collinear is a subcase of parallel, right?
Right.
Yeah. So that actually makes sense. So there's a tiny bit of geometric intuition that they're going towards here. They just happen to have a case that describes collinearity perfectly. If two lines are parallel, but they didn't satisfy this thing, right? Then they are not collinear, which means that they could never possibly intersect, right? Because they're parallel, but they're not the same line, right? So that means that they're never ever going to cross. Finally, if R cross 0 is not equal to 0, we know that this means that they're not parallel, and their like T and S are both between 1. That means the segment they cross. They cross between these 4 points.
Because it's the multiplier, right. Okay.
Because T is the multiplier of R, and if T is less than R, that means that they cross behind P, and so you're not going to cross in the segments. And if T is greater than 1, it's past this point over here, right? And then same thing on the Q side as well.
Yeah.
Okay. But so yeah, that's basically it. And
damn. I like that it all depends on its points. The function always applies. We just got to do some matrix math, and we have geomatrix. So I'm down.
Yeah, there's like, and the other thing we could do is just like we could just copy the thing from the other dude's page. What was that dude?
God, was it like collisiondetection.org or something? Yeah,
Jeffrey Thompson. How could I forget?
How could you forget?
I tried to squat my Hey address. Did you get an invite for Hey?
No, I haven't. I've installed it. I haven't done it yet, but I'm thinking about it.
It's funny because I was like, I was intrigued because I was like, oh, this is going to be like the state of the art Rails app.
Mm-hmm.
They supposedly do a lot of static rendering. It actually doesn't look like that's the case. I like played around with it. There's a lot of JavaScript going on. But they had, because everyone ends up using email for like not only talking to people, but it's like kind of your database too, right? It's like I like remember all my financial transactions, all my bills, and that kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's also like stuff that's like, oh, I should probably respond to this, or this is like a reminder for me to do this thing, but I don't want to do it now. Right, it feels like that. Those are the kind of like three rough subdivisions of how you use emails, like a to-do list, archive, and communication tool.
Mm-hmm.
And they basically make it really easy to like always send one email address to one of those three buckets, right? By just like it just remembers your preference the last thing you clicked or something like that. And there's a lot about that's super appealing to me. And then I logged in and I'm like, there's no way in hell I'm going to use this. It's not even that it's bad. It's just like I'm just too used to like what I'm currently.
And do you have just a year of Hey now that you have to deal with?
I didn't. You get 14 days for free, no credit card. So
I'm going to try that then. Okay.
Yeah. To add insult to insult, I couldn't even get Jeff Lee at hey.com. He was already taken.
That's rough.
Yeah.
That's just mean.
Whoa. Oh, this guy only does line to line. This isn't going to help us.
No. Line. He means segment to segment.
He means segment to segment. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, great. Let us then simply... What does he mean by X3 versus X2?
Let's see. It's a great fucking question. Let's see.
I'm sure it's like it's X1, Y1, X2, Y2,
X2, Y2, yeah.
X3, Y3. Like I hope to God that's what he means, right?
That better be it.
Oh, and I think this is kind of
it's the exact same thing, yeah.
Kind of what we were talking about, like. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yep. This is the cross product. Just derived out a little bit.
Yeah, there's no special cases in here, which is a little bit disturbing to me.
There's his X1, Y1, X2, Y2, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, wait, hang on. Yeah, that is weird. If they're between 0 and 1, the lines are colliding. Does this work for collinearity somehow?
You know what I think it is that he's not checking for division by 0 here. Jeffrey Thompson is not. Right.
Jeffrey Thompson.
That seems like a major oversight in a very well SEO'd collision detection website.
Division by 0 isn't, well, it's not supposed to be a problem here?
It's not supposed to be a problem because I think the checks for collinearity and parallelism eliminate that.
Gotcha.
So we could just do the thing that Stack Overflow post is telling us and just laboriously type it out.
I mean, it's really just...
Yeah, it's not too bad.
It's T and U. Yeah. Should we make this an exercise for next week, however, since it
is 9 o'clock. Wow,
it goes fast. It always goes fast.
Yeah. Yeah. And this one, I think today, a little bit less done, but we talked about ECS. We got cool debug draw system going at least.
Yeah, and I like that we found the bug.
I like that you can play my game. It's just so awesome that Tuple lets you do this, which is great. This is awesome. It feels like we're really making a game right now, doesn't it?
It really does.
Yeah.
This,
Line of sight detector.
this is cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel good about that.
Okay. And I love that we understand our tools enough that we can make a little reduced case map to test this out, a little gym, which is great. Although we need to figure out how to like make a library of these things, so switching back and forth is easy.
It'd be fun to have a couple maps. Yeah, maybe that can be our off-stream project this week because I want to have cases like this all the time.
Yeah, exactly. This is a and maybe you talked about the idea of just having the editor in the game. That would be kind of like sort of moonshot level thing. That would be really awesome to have.
Yeah, true.
One final terminology thing. It's sort of like example scenario like this is oftentimes called a gym, a GYM, like a gymnasium where you can. You actually see this in a Smash Brothers or something like that, where you can get into like the the training mode in Smash Brothers. Where
I like that
like,
a lot. Yeah,
where it has like it actually has like meters, whatever the game unit meters are, in the background of measuring how far you hit people and that sort of thing.
And they do some extra debugger in there where they show you like arcs of things flying and stuff.
Exactly.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah. So this is our equivalent of that.
That's hilarious.
Yeah. Alrighty.
Nice.
This is great.
This is great. Honestly, this Twitch battle station is great.
No more OBS?
We'll see. It's on here, but I started straight out of the Elgato software, so we'll get fancier from here.
Yeah. Awesome. Okay, next time, will we possibly be playing StarCraft next time on Sunday?
I think we should play some StarCraft. Oh, you know what? I'm gonna be out of town on Sunday. Do you want to play some StarCraft on like Friday?
We could do. Do you want to do a Friday stream with StarCraft? Maybe.
Let's do a little StarCraft. Yeah.
And then if I think 2 hours of StarCraft might be. I mean, I want to play like many hours of StarCraft, but like for the stream, maybe let's do an hour of or like if we don't fix the math between, we'll do like 45 minutes or an hour of coding, and then we can switch to StarCraft. How does that sound?
That sounds pretty fun. Yeah.
Okay. Cool. And the reason why we're doing StarCraft is because that is one of the chief inspirations. Yes, of what we're trying to do for sure.
And it's the reason I bought this moderately priced gaming PC, because now we can stream StarCraft and play games.
What is the closest thing to what we're trying to do? Like, is it Dota? Like, we're doing like tower defense plus our like bullet hell kind of thing, right? Like, plus building and like in resource management.
I feel like there was a.
I mean, Bolo is very close, right? Bolo.
Yeah. I remember there being like a tiny little tank game, like called Commandos or something, where you like had a little platoon that you could take through the woods, and you were probably trying to kill someone in Southeast Asia because that seems what it was themed after. But
what?
Do you know what I'm talking about? It was like a 1990s Mac game. Maybe it was on Windows too, but
I know a game that is very similar to what you're talking about, where you had like a group of guys, and it was similar control scheme to what we're doing here, where you like clicked on where they should go and you would like shoot in certain directions.
It's somewhere. It's between that RTS and like tower defense.
Was it a Bungie game?
Oh, you're thinking of Myth the Fallen Lord. Yeah.
No, I'm not thinking of that. I'm thinking of, it was kind of cartoony, right? It was sort of like Vietnam War guys.
Yeah, okay. Yeah. That wasn't Bungie.
It wasn't Bungie. Okay.
Myth is an interesting one though. Myth was also like a half RTS, half sort of role playing game.
Oh. I never played Myth. I heard good things.
It was good. It was weird. It was definitely unique to its time.
Yeah. I will leave you, at least on the stream, with this particular anecdote, which is that I was telling a coworker of mine, we had kind of like a virtual lunch sort of thing, where we both were basically awkwardly like trying to mute our chewing sounds over Zoom. But I told him about the stream and what I was working on, and he was like, "Oh yeah, what's the game about?" And it's like, "Well, we're just doing like tanks, it's like overhead view with tanks, but we want to make them be able to like build stuff." And he's like, "Jeff, did you ever play the game Bolo?" And I was like, "Yes." Yeah.
Perfect. I love it.
Yeah.
All right. On that note, good night, everybody.
Yep. See everybody Friday.
Yeah. A little
for
StarCraft.
A little early
StarCraft.
stream with some StarCraft.
A little StarCraft, a little math that will fix this up.
Yeah. Love it.
All right. Sweet. Peace, dude.
Nice. Later.